welcome to what is, I think, episode 31 of the Sheep and Cheerful podcast. My name is Nicky. I am the host and CEO of All Things Sheep and Cheerful, and this is a podcast about me trying to live as creative a life as I possibly can in as cheerful a way as I possibly can, which involves very little housework. Let's start off right at the beginning. Welcome to those if you are new to the podcast, and welcome back to those who have been watching me for a little while or for the past 30 episodes. You will know, if you've been a returning viewer, that I'm coming to you from the south coast of the United Kingdom, England to be exact, where I live with my husband and 1.5 of my 2 grown-up children, the half of which is also out at university. The other one is at university but living at home. And then most importantly, as you've probably already heard, my 2 dogs, one of whom is walking across the room now, Honey and Henry, who are my English Springer Spaniels and who feature quite often on this podcast. And not forgetting, of course, the newest member of the family, Gilbert, who is not in this room for obvious reasons, who is Hannah's chinchilla and has captured all our hearts. He's nearly a year old now, and he's adorable. I have put some clips of him on Instagram. I managed to get some footage of him this morning when we got him out to play. So for his playtime, obviously. So I'll put that at the end of the podcast. So that was that. Apart from the podcast I recorded several weeks ago, which was a bit of an unmitigated car crash, I haven't done this for a while now. So I have notes, so I can surreptitiously, I don't have a teleprompter up there, so I'm going to surreptitiously glance at my notes. I am, prepared today. I have notes. I have everything around me. I think the light is good today. The window is over there. I have got an overhead light on, but I think we're okay. Excuse me. I think we're all good. We have got the builders here still, so there might be some rattling and banging. Hopefully it won't set the dogs off, but I'll have to fix that in editing if that happens. So have I said everything there? I have. When I talk about my creative life, I would have said principally knitting, but these days it's knitting, it's crochet, it's, always has been weaving. If you follow me on Instagram, details are down below, but I'm known as Clara Peggotty on Instagram. You will know that I weave quite a lot, and for a while there I wove what were called alchemy blankets, where people used to send me, or knitters used to send me big bags of all their scrap yarns. I would weave those into a blanket and send it back. I don't really do that much these days because quite frankly the demand for the blankets outstripped my ability to make. They're big blankets and they used to take a while, and my order list the waiting list got to over a year long, and it was a little bit too much pressure, quite frankly. So I only make them from time to time. Anyway, I digressed already, but I was going to just talk about what I am wearing, in as much as, a green t-shirt. I'm wearing a green t-shirt today, but I am wearing my Cladonia shawl. This is an old favourite. This is one of the shawls I knit. It must have been 6 or 7 years ago now. I'm not very good with time passing. One of the very first kind of indie designs I made, shawl pin, because it's quite a small one. This, you can tell it's older because it's smaller, and you don't tend to get such small as this these days. So that's the shawl. Oops, into my tea. It's absolutely beautiful. I really, really love this. If it was a little bit bigger, I would probably wear it more, but Henry's right on my feet, so I can't move very well. I'm not sure. Again, you've got the light coming behind it, haven't you? I want you to see. There you go. So that's the lace border. See if I can do this so that you can see this better. There you go. So it's an applied border, I think. No, it's not. It was knit as part of the pattern. But it's really beautiful. And then the rest of the shawl, it's knit out from, you can see there's a garter tab cast on, and then it just increases outwards. And so I tend to wear it more in a sort of a more of a 90s or 2000s way, than wrapped around loads of times. And then I do have to stick it with a shawl pin because it does flop down. I do move around a lot, but get my hands muddled up as to where I am. I just think it's lovely. So yeah, sorry, let's talk. This is the Cladonia shawl by Kirsten Kapur, who is Through the Loops. This was one of her earlier designs. She has a mass of designs now. I think she has a website, but her designs are also on Ravelry, and they're really lovely. Now this was also one of my first forays into Quince & Company yarn. So this is Quince & Company, and it's, I think it might have been a sport weight. I can't honestly remember the yarn I used, but it's a sport weight or a fingering weight. And it's beautiful. It is beautiful yarn. Sorry, I've got a hair on my nose. It's a red hair on my nose. I had a real love affair with Quince & Company for a while, as you do when you're discovering new to you things. And I made a few shawls in their yarn, but this I think is lovely. And it's unusual colours for me actually, although obviously with the said green t-shirt it works. But that's what I'm wearing. Right, what's next? I'm going to jump straight in to crafty stuff. I'm not going to talk much about life and other stuff. I'm going to save that to the end so that at least we can get through some making stuff. But first, even before that, I have some winners to announce. We have a lovely podcast group on Ravelry, which I've been sorely neglectful of, like I've been sorely neglectful of loads of things in the last couple of months. But it's a lovely group of people. We have some ongoing chatter threads. So we have a Scrappy Blanket Adventures thread. I may have talked about that on the last podcast. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know what I talked about in the last podcast because I didn't make notes either. And I'll be blowed if I'm going to watch myself again because that's just painful. So I'm going to just say these things. Lovely podcast group. Yeah, Scrappy Blanket Adventures thread. We've got a What's on Your Needles thread. If you just want to share, because especially these days, we're not getting out. We're not managing to chat to our friends, certainly not in the UK, but I think many places around the world, you're on some form of restricted social interaction. We've not got the yarn festivals going on. So actually to be able to put a picture up and say, look, this is what I'm working on, I think it's really nice. And you always get lots of nice comments or feedback, or even if it's just, you know, the bit along the bottom, it's love or funny or whatever. So I do encourage you to pop over there. And there is an introductory thread if you want to pop on and just say a little bit about yourself, which is also lovely. I always read those. I don't always get to look through all the new posts on the other threads, but I certainly, if somebody introduces themselves, I always go straight to that. So I like to know who my friends are on the podcast group. So that's that. So we had 2 prizes that are long overdue. So apologies for that. They have been sitting safe and sound in my podcasting box here in my craft room, which incidentally is now called the boat. We're on the boat. Again, don't go into that. You know me, you know I have a certain way of thinking about things. So this room now, I think the craft room is like a little bit naff, I have to say. And I was trying to think of a name. I've always wanted to kind of live, or at least go for a sabbatical on a canal boat. I used to sail, but I used to sail a dinghy. you know, with the sail inland. I love being on the water, so inland. So a canal boat, oh, I just love that. So I decided that I would call my space here the boat, and that's caught on. We're okay at home, so we're on the boat. Henry's on the boat. The good thing about this is the dogs don't have to wear life jackets on this particular boat, but they do wander around and make a lot of noise. Anyhow, again, digression. You see, those of you who sent me lovely messages saying, are you going to podcast again? When's the next podcast? Are you glad you asked now? Right, the first giveaway. Yeah, it was a giveaway, this one. It wasn't a prize draw thing. If you'll remember, way back in 2020, I shared with you a lovely maker who I've been following for some time. And actually, if you can see, oops, can you see the hearts there? I don't know if you can. There's two hearts, one that says quilt and one that says create. And these are made by Catherine Daniels, who's Kathy Daniels Ceramics on YouTube. I'll put the link down below. And she really kindly donated 2 prizes for the podcast. This one, so this is a ceramic hand painted. What do I need? I need something to put behind it other than my hand. Let's see, here's a bit of paper. Like to say, print test bit of paper, so I can, there you go. So it's a ceramic heart, it's absolutely beautiful. And that's her 2020, It Will All Be Okay, which is lovely. With a little metal hook there, and it's stamped on the back with her logo mark. So there's that one to give away. And she also sent me one of her adorable cotton reels. Now this is actually a Halloween one, because we got our timing a little bit pickled with things, but it is just bubble wrap. There we go. It is so cute. Is that focused? I'm behind a piece of paper so I can't see. And then it's got the pumpkin on the top. Oh, it goes in my hair, look. Except my hair's not orange, it's red. So yeah, that's better, isn't it? So it's this lovely ceramic cotton reel. And you could pop a pencil or a pen, or it could just sit on your craft table. Anyway, so she makes these from time to time. She does a huge batch. They go into her shop. They do sell out very quickly. She did a load of Christmas ones with robins. I called them Bobbin. And they went, I'm not sure. I haven't looked in her shop lately, so I'm not sure what's in there. But anyway, the giveaway, the prompt was, what craft would you like to be able to do? If you could do any craft other than your knitting and your crochet, if you're a knitter and crochet, any craft, no expense restrictions, what would you do? And we had some lovely replies. There was a real variety. There was a lot of sewing, a lot of stitching. There was some pottery. I would have thought there'd be more pottery actually, but that's possibly because I would love to do pottery, so I'm a bit biased. There was a few weaving. There was some weaving. There was some lace making, which is interesting. So there was a lovely selection of ideas that people would like to do. I drew 2 winners from good old random number generator. And the winners are, so we've got Tistrad, which is Tanya from Gloucestershire, and good old Blighty. So Tanya, congratulations, you have won one of the ceramic prizes from Kathy. The second winner is Chester Cat, which is Alexa from Nova Scotia, over in Canada. We have a lot of winners over in Canada. So Tanya and Alexa, you have won the ceramic prizes. I will, in no particular order, send these. So yeah, I think if you'd like to contact me either via the Ravelry thread, not the Ravelry thread, the Ravelry group, you can message me on Ravelry, or you can DM me on Instagram, which is, as I say, Clara Peggotty on Instagram. I've got to stop umming, haven't I? And let me have your details, and I will get these wrapped up securely and sent off to you. It won't be instant, because obviously we are on strict lockdown at the moment in the UK. But if there is a point when we feel justified and that I have to leave the house, I will go to the post office and I'll post these. So don't fear if they take a couple of weeks or so. They will be coming your way. So congratulations. The next prize winner was, we had a Christmas bauble along. Yeah, a Christmas bauble along, and it's now nearly the end of February. So again, apologies for the delay. Thank you for everybody who entered. We had some great fun. It was quite a long one. It was September, October, end of September, I think I started it, because my plan was to make 3 baubles, so 1 a month up to Christmas. And I did that, and we had some lovely things. Do you know what? I've just realised I haven't pulled for the junior prize for that. We were doing a junior and an, I don't want to say senior, a senior, older, grown-up one for that. So I am going to announce the grown-up prize, but I will also, I totally forgot about that when I was doing them, go in and do the junior prize. I will announce that next podcast. So the grown-up prize winner was, thanks to, again, random number generator, was Teresa 1965, who actually crafted 5 baubles. At least she put 5 baubles in the FO thread, which is fantastic. More than I made in the end. I think I did 4 actually. So congratulations, Teresa. You are over in Fort Klamath in Oregon. So if you would like to either, again, DM me, contact me via the Ravelry group or Ravelry and send me your details, I will send you a prize. And I haven't actually decided. Had I decided? Oh, I had. Look, it was these wonderful minis from the Curated Yarn Company, which were donated by Stevie. Look at that. So you've got 5 mini skeins, this lovely set here. And it's the Curated, oh, can you see that? It's a bit, if I bring it over here, is that a bit better? The Curated Yarn Company, what a lovely label. And these are the Cozy Cabin Minis Christmas 20. So you could either keep them, make something next Christmas, or use them now. So Teresa, these will be winging their way to you once you let me have your details. Same principle. As soon as it's safe and okay for me to go out to the post office, I will do that and I will get these sent over to you. So congratulations. Right, I think that's that. I was going to talk about, I'll talk about books and Dickens a little bit later. I think we need to move on, don't we? We need to move on to some knitting content. So let's do it. Let me just have a quick sip. I have actually got a structure planned for the podcasts now. Be impressed. Oh, it's one of the builders coming down the stairs, or it's possibly a fairy elephant. Take your pick. Oh, and now he's gone out the front door, which means if the dogs see him, we're going to get a lot of barking. So fingers crossed. No, they're both looking the other way and vaguely asleep. So let's hope they don't bark. Yeah, so this section is talking about projects. It will include finished objects and works in progress of knitting and crochet objects. So that's this bit. Okay. I'm going to think of a really snappy, cool name for it, but yeah, not yet. I haven't gone that far. So my first finished objects. This podcast, you will have seen these on Ravelry, on Instagram. At the end of last year, I decided that this year, I think I did mention this in the last podcast, I was going to subscribe to the Hippo for Little Celebrations Club by Lauren Slagle, who is the dyer behind Lolodidit. Those of you in the States will certainly know of her, I'm sure. And because, as I say, we no longer have import duties and VAT to pay on shipping things over from the States, then I thought actually it would work, it would be okay. So I don't mind paying a little bit extra for shipping, knowing that I'm not going to get collared this end for VAT. So that's all very good, and that is, you know, that is happening. I haven't been collared for anything on these skeins, which is really useful. It just means I can buy more from the States, from Canada. My first one was Hippo for New Beginnings, and I'll show you. I've also got myself a new project card journal. This picture was painted by my niece Lydia, and I scanned it into my computer. So this isn't the original, this is a reproduction, and used it as the front page of my knitting record card. I have my pumpkin patch one, so that's my Hippo, that's my Hippo for New Beginnings card. So all my Hippo socks will have this chap on him, and then you can't really see very well, but I am actually colouring with watercolour pencils a representation of what colour the speckles are of that. I've also got, as usual, a little colour swatch of the yarn. I put all my details on the back of the card there. This card is kept in the project bag until it's finished, and then I put it onto the rings. I've also taken to putting the yarn tag. So there you go. Lolodidit, Hippo for New Beginning. And this is her, glasses off, 85% extra fine superwash merino, 15% nylon, and it's a 3-ply, and my goodness, can you feel it's a 3-ply? It's absolutely plumptious. I love this yarn, really love it. So let's get on with seeing the actual project, shall we? I chose to knit vanilla sock, and these are my finished socks, and I love them. So, I've got a bit of paper on the back there. So you can see with all Lauren's Hippo socks, they're on a pale grey base, which itself is tonal. Another dog hair there. And it has, you know, there's definite shading. This one's better. You can see some stronger grey and some paler grey, which I love, having never been a grey person before. And then this one, Hippo for New Beginnings, oh my goodness, it's pinks and purples and greens and blues. It's got all sorts of wonderful speckles on them. And I chose to put a hot pink. I think this was a mini I had in my stash, or a scrappy leftover anyway. Hot pink heel and toe. And I did my usual fish lips kiss heel and a round toe. I did the cuffs longer than I normally do. I did them, for some reason I did 20 rounds of 2x2 rib, and again love that, so I'll probably be doing that if I come back a bit. They're a bit lighter, I think, that side. And then I actually, on my cards, I made a note, I did these longer as well because I just so love the yarn. I wanted to get as much of it into a sock as I could. So I did 70 rounds for the leg, and then I think it was about 80 for the foot. But I absolutely love those. I'm so excited to be knitting these. So that was my first pair of Hippo socks finished. And I finished those, when did I start them? Because I can tell you now because of my card. I cast on the 28th of January and I finished on the 11th of February. So, and it was my first cast on of 2021. There you go. Oh, legs 67 rounds. So not 70. Whatevs. Oh, it was, sorry, it wasn't a scrap. It was some yarwool. It was Lang yarwool sock wool that I'd got as a present at Christmas from my lovely friend Penny. She gave me the bright pink and a bright orange. I love pink and orange together. They just look really good. So yeah, it wasn't scraps. It was the Lang yarwool. So then by the time I'd finished these, I just about received January's colourway. So I'm a month behind because Lauren sends them out sort of in the middle of the month, and it takes about 3 weeks to get to me from when she does the packaging and the sending out. So these were January's that I got. No, sorry, these were December's that I received at the very beginning of January. And then January socks that I received at the beginning of February. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. Can't see it. They're slightly more subtle speckles. Subtle speckles. You can't really see. And this is called Hippo for Home Sweet Home. And it's green speckles on a grey base and a sort of a deep purpley violet speckles. I know because Lauren moved house during this time, and she felt prompted to celebrate the house move, so she did Hippo for Home Sweet Home. So I have my project card, Hippo for Home Sweet Home, there, focused. I cast on the 12th of February, so not that long ago. And what I do with these now, I don't knit them, I knit them concurrently-ish. So I knit the cuff and the leg on sock number 1, and then the cuff and leg on sock number 2. Then I put the heels in, and then I do the foot and toe, sock number 1, foot and toe, sock number 2. Clear? And last night I finished sock number 1. So you can see there it's a much greater subtle speckles with this one. If I bring up, that was last month's, there, and that's this month's. I think it's quite nice in a way to have it different. I've done the same, and this is on a shorter sock blocker, I've done the same 20 round cuff, and then here I decided on 2 different colours for the heel and the toe. That's a bit wonky donk. These sock blockers are a little bit on the small side for my feet. And I've got the heel in a green and the toe. That toe is blue but with green and purple in it, which I thought matched really well. So I've got that done. These 2 are minis by Lottie Knits. That's Charlotte Walford. And they were part of my Lottie Knits advent calendar. And so I had these lovely tonals. Charlotte dyes very much tonal yarn. She doesn't tend to do things like speckles. She does deep, rich tonals, and I just thought they worked really well. And I also have sock number 2. I'm about to put the heel in on that one. So hopefully, maybe next podcast, possibly, depends on my other projects, that might be done. So that is Hippo for Home Sweet Home, sock number 2 of this year, of this whatevs. And they are in, I think all my Lolodidit socks are going to be in my favourite project bag at the moment, which is my God Will Always Love Me. He wrote about me in his book. He knows all about me. Oh, look at that. When God thinks about me, he smiles really big. Love that. Right, so that's that sock. So that's 1 and a bit finished. Yeah, now cast on another one. I was only going to knit vanilla socks, vanilla Hippo socks this year. I kind of lost my sock mojo towards the end of last year, and so my goal for this year was to knit 3 pairs of socks. That was it. 3 pairs of socks, 3 shawls, 3 sweaters, 3 blankets, and a few other things. I got 21 for 21 basically, so I came up with 21 things, of which 3 things were pairs of socks. But I have recently, and very belatedly, started watching Kay Litton, the Crazy Sock Lady, and I'm really enjoying her podcasts now, and I didn't realise what a number of patterns she had. Now, as it happens, I had seen this particular pattern that I'm going to talk about last year when it came out, but I hadn't connected the two. So on watching her, and I really had the urge to cast on, I wanted to cast on a pair of pattern socks, but nothing too complex, because last year, if you remember, in October, I cast on 3 pairs of socks, all of which were patterned, and all of which were one pair I still haven't finished, and the others, I had to really push myself to finish them, because I couldn't just sit down and do them. I had to follow a pattern. But I had fallen in love with Kay's Rainbow Connection socks. Now, I put the start of this on Instagram. I only cast these on Monday. So much so that on my project card here, I haven't actually decorated the front yet. So cast them on, yeah, 22nd of February. That was Sunday, I think. No, it wasn't. It was Monday. And such a lovely pattern, actually. I'll show you. It's a paid for pattern on Kay's Ravelry page. And she shows you too. So basically, a lot of you will know these. You will have seen them. As I say, I'm late to the party. But I just think they're wonderful. And I first of all thought I'll do them with self-striping yarn. I thought that would be really great. But then I had a look in my stash, and actually I had this skein of YarnInk yarn that I had bought several years ago, deep stash, called Jellyfish. It was in the Jellyfish colourway. I didn't bring the tag. So YarnInk she's a Canadian dyer. I found out about her from the very early Grocery Girls podcasts. I think she did a lot of work with them, or maybe still does, I don't know. But this is the skein of yarn from her. It's really vivid, really, really colourful. It's gold and blue and pink and orange and green. I mean, it basically is an explosion in a crayon factory. So I thought that would be great for the rainbow part of the socks. And then I have a small tub, it's not that small actually, but with commercial sock yarn, because I didn't have any, I don't tend to keep much in the way of tonals in hand-dyed yarn, which I am looking to maybe change a little bit. But I did have this rather glorious, again, bright pink. Gotta love the bright pink. Shocking pink, I think, more than bright. Oh, look at it with my hair. Should do a hat, shouldn't I? This is West Yorkshire Spinners. It's their sock yarn, and I believe it's 100% Blue Face Leicester. I could be wrong. I don't have the tag here, but anyway, it's their sock yarn. And so I thought actually that could work really well, and oh my goodness, oh my golly my gosh, as my father-in-law used to say, God bless him. This is where I'm at. Look at those bad boys, or that bad boy. How amazing. Look, you get the best light if that's in front of my face. Does that tell you something? I mean, I just love it. And do you know what's even better about this? I'll show you the back. He's striped. So you've got horizontal stripes on the back, vertical stripes on the front. Oh, that was a terrible face, wasn't it? I think, this is just gorgeous. I'm so excited about this. I will even forgive Kay for making me do a German twisted cast on. That's how much I love these. I don't mind a German twisted cast on, to be honest. I can't seem to remember it though. I do have to look it up every time. My cast on of choice is a long tail cast on anyway. But with German twisted, I do have to watch a video to remind me where the twist is. But, I mean, do you want to just look at those again? Because they are beautiful. I'm saying they, it is singular in fact, but I'm thinking socks. So actually I have only got another 4 pattern repeats, which is 4 rounds to go before I get to the heel. It's a heel flap and gusset. And normally I would probably make my socks longer, but I might, I don't know, I might put in another couple of repeats. We'll see. My footwear of choice is always Dr. Martin boots, and I like to have the socks coming out the top, which is why I make them longer. I don't very often wear shoes. I certainly don't wear, you know, ladylike shoes or grown-up shoes. You've got time for that. I got dogs, I got mess, I got, yeah, anyway. Got distracted then, sorry about that. Don't get me on shoes. So, I'm not sure how long I'm going to do them, but that is sock number 1, and I cast that on the day before yesterday. So, yeah, can't get enough of it, to be honest. So that is living in my, I'm using my little needle cozy there, which was in my, I believe, Nicky, I think this was from you in my Christmas gift box where you sent me all those lovely goodies. I'm pretty sure that was from you. Apologies if I've got this wrong, but it's a really cute little needle cozy. I do love using needle cozies, but I do forget to use them, so I'll have to have them out. But they're just lovely. And then in my Hohi bag, which again I put away for a while, it is a little bit on the heavy side, but I'm really starting to try and use the things I've got because I like them. Do you know what I mean? You buy something because you love it and you put it to one side and go on to the next thing, which is really bad, and it's a real first world problem, isn't it? But yeah, so they are living. I can't, that's the thing, you see, I can't work with that from the project bag because that's too bulky and it won't unwind. The cake of yarn is fine, so when I sit down I have to pull those both out. But so Crazy Sock Lady, I'm loving a lot of her designs actually. I may well cast on another one when I finish the current Hippo pair. So there is also a friend of mine and who watches the podcast, who many of you will know, is Karen. Karen Wasson over in Australia, or down in Australia. She has just designed a pair of socks called the Whiskey Glass socks. I saw her put them up on Instagram today. She's looking for test knitters, and then I will be knitting a pair of those. So I've got to kind of, you know, pace myself because I don't want to burn out on my sock mojo at the moment. So they're the socks, okay. And I will let you know when I get the next Hippo sock. I will share that with you. I've also got some very exciting new yarn purchases to share with you shortly. The trio shawl, if you remember, I did show you that last time. I've actually been consciously putting some hours into that because I'm at the point where the shawl is getting pretty wide and so the rows are getting quite long. This is in my Umbrella Academy project bag, and this is the trio shawl pattern by Suvi Simola. And I didn't actually mark it, so that's the first colour. You'll see that was the stitch marker where I was when I very first showed it on the podcast, but now I have just come up to the end of the second colour section. Look at that, how bold. Now, if I stand up and bring this, it's still there, that's better. It's blowing out a bit with the light. Look at those speckles, and then you've got a really pale. So I'm now, this was the first colour. Gosh, that looks really insipid. It is a much prettier colour than that. This was the first colour. You then stripe in the second colour. I'm now about to stripe in the third colour, the third and final colour, which is, oh no, that's not showing up at all well back here. No, it's much, it's really, it's more vivid than that. It's a really soft kind of, soft but, a soft colour, but it's quite a vibrant colour. And that is, in fact, Coral Crush from Bien Aimee. And I've talked about these yarns before. These are sport weight yarns. So it's quite, I don't think I can get the whole, I can just about get the width of it now. So it's a triangular shawl, and it keeps on, it's keeping on increasing. It doesn't go back to decrease at all. But I'm now on the third colour. So hopefully that will start. I really want to finish this, partly because I absolutely love it, and partly because I want to cast on the next shawl. Let's say I have 3 shawls I want to knit this year. Yeah, this is the first of 3, plus 1 to finish. I have the hummingbird shawl to finish. I don't have a pattern card for this. I need to do that. I don't think I can show you. I think, as I've said before, I haven't got a colour picture, but it does have, this is really rubbish, but you'll see it has tassels, a fringe, all about the fringe, baby. So I have made progress. I am kind of, it's an 8 pattern repeat, and because they're long rows, it's not something I like to do it in an 8 pattern repeat, an 8 row repeat, and I like to do it and get a repeat done, and it takes me probably about an hour to do a repeat. So I sort of choose my moments when I sit down and work on that. I've been maybe sitting down and putting on Rosemary and Thyme. People know Rosemary and Thyme. Love it. I've watched them all 100 times. It's a bit like Murder, She Wrote, and all those lovely, really lightweight crime shows. Love them. And I can sit and knit. And I almost listen to them like audiobooks. I don't have to watch the screen. I do though. Okay. Finally, for this section is progress on my Wherefore Art Thou sweater, which I haven't talked about for a while because I totally went off it. I've totally gone off garment knitting and found a sock and shawl mojo. It's typical, isn't it? It's the way it goes. I think I worked on a lot of garments last year, which is probably why I've kind of fizzled a bit on those, but I have a lovely group of WhatsApp friends, which includes Deborah and Emily from Meanwhile at the Castle, and Gaughan, Daz from Cuckooland, and Amy, Taylor S Studio, and we were all bar one, working on sleeves. We were all on Sleeve Island, so we decided to encourage each other and try and sit and do some every day, even if it's only, 4 rounds or whatever. So I did that, and I was only on the first sleeve, and I got the first sleeve done. But then I went back to my shawl knitting. But I will show you where I'm at with that. I want to do this because I actually do want to cast on another, sweater. Well, I've got the urge to cast on something, but I still have another unfinished sweater. So if I can get this done, then I can, with impunity, cast on. I want to probably cast on the Reluctant Homeschooler cardigan by Caitlin Hunter, Boylan Knitworks, and I have the yarn and everything. But anyway, this is the sleeve. Look at that. So as you can see, they are bell-shaped sleeves. So this is part of the problem. They were about 120 stitches all the way round. So, it takes longer than it does to do a round on a sock to knit that. That said, I really, really like it. So, I've now got to pick up this one. I'm also, if you remember, I'm undecided about the length. I've knit it to as long as it says on the pattern. And it isn't meant to be a long sweater, but I have quite a long torso. And I can't decide on the length, so I decided I would knit the sleeves. I've got to go back and pick up and knit the rib collar anyway. The neck. But the sleeve, I mean, it's beautiful. I absolutely love it. I don't know. I'll have to take my... Shall I model it? Shall we throw caution to the wind? Because you haven't seen it. I don't think I've shown it to you on anyway. I've got the bottom stitches are on scrap yarn. In fact, you can, oops, knock stuff over. Tell me what you think. Now, I'm going to get it over the girls. Hang on, because I'm now wonky, aren't I? It's this side. Right. So, that's the sleeve, which I think I'm still a bit wonky, but it is really lovely. I've got it stopping right on my wrist because I didn't want it, the fact that it's quite wide there, I didn't want it drooping in my dinner and stuff. And then you'll see that, oh look, there's a big pooling across there. That's where it comes to. Now, if I do this, I think that's my natural waist. I think, again, it's too short. I think I might want it to come down to there, in which case I'll have to rip out the rib and just do it a bit longer. But I really haven't noticed that white sort of flash across it, but that's alternating skeins, of course. That's Malabrigo yarn for you. But sleeve, da da da, which I'm really love this. Really love this sweater. I love the fit as well. It's just the length I need to sort out. Quite like the neck open. Perhaps I'll leave that open with a little stitch marker, a little progress keeper there. So, right, so that's my Wherefore Art Thou sweater. I haven't told you, yes, Malabrigo yarn, Malabrigo Washted, which I bought, for anyone who remembers, when Hannah and I visited New York. In the days when you could travel and not wear masks. Would have been a year ago last December. And that's the pattern. It's a pattern sold through Purl Soho, but it's by Norah Gaughan. Oh, where is it? Is it that? Oh, it's got my hand on it, that's why. Here you are. Wherefore Art Thou Pullover by Norah Gaughan. For Purl Soho. And I'm using Malabrigo Washted, which I bought in Nitty City as well, in New York. So this is known as my New York sweater. I really like it. I need to get this sleeve finished, don't I? I really do. I don't even mind if I don't, get to wear it this year. But I've been wearing my Paloma sweater a lot when it got really, really cold. And that was glorious. It was really nice to have a really warm sweater. Right. Anyway. Wherefore art thou? I should say it every week. Wherefore art thou? Why aren't thou finished? I need to do that. But when the mojo is strong for other things like socks and shawls, it's hard, isn't it? I'm also doing 101 other projects that are not necessarily knitting. So yeah, but I do like that. Anyway, that is all for now. Where are we at? 48 minutes. Oh, that's not too outrageous. Have a sip of tea. I was going to do a whole podcast on my blankets, but I decided that I'm just going to talk about one each week, I think. And you're thinking, how many weeks? How many blankets have you got? I've cast on a new blanket. So I've got 4 blankets on the go. And again, they kind of rotate whatever mood I'm in. At the moment, I'm working like crazy. I've given myself a target of making a blanket for my son for either Christmas, what's my watch telling me? Almost, oh, this is stupid, that. Either for Christmas or for when this year he's due to qualify from uni and go out into the big wide world and get his own flat or house share or whatever, but not student accommodation anymore. And I thought it would be really nice. I don't tend to knit stuff for him. He goes through socks like a hot knife through butter. So it's just not worth me making him socks. And he doesn't just go through them, he absolutely mullers them. It made me laugh actually when this thing on knitting socks for paramedics, which is lovely, but if my son got given a pair, please don't knit him a pair because he just goes through them. I don't know. Anyway, and I decided I was totally enabled, as I always am, by Cherie from Ollie and Bella, the Ollie and Bella podcast. And we were chatting before Christmas about blankets, and of course she's an exceedingly proficient crocheter, as well as a knitter, and we were looking at the Battenberg blanket, and I think I saw it somewhere else as well, and I just thought I want to knit that. And so it's a pattern by Sandra Paul, who is Sandra Cherry Heart. Anyway, I actually printed off the pattern. I bought the pattern for my mum because she was looking to crochet another blanket and she wanted to do granny squares, so I bought it for her, having decided I wasn't going to make it, and then got terribly excited and decided I would make it, because that's what you do. So in my lovely Wovenology basket, which again enabled by Cherie, thank you Cherie, hang on, set those out from there. Now this is an interesting one. Stand by your beds, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching. Not only am I knitting this in monochrome, which is a shocker, you know, me, colour, but it's for my son, so, you know. I'm using Stylecraft Special DK. I'm using acrylic yarn. I thought long and hard about it, and to me it was the only answer. There is no way that my son will bother looking after a blanket. I want him to love it. I want him to throw it over him, have it on the settee, whatever. He just won't even think about, if it's not washing machineable and tumble dryable, then it's no good. And I thought, I'm not putting all these hours into it for something that isn't going to last him or that he'll be afraid to touch or look at. So anyway, that's that. We've got an interesting chatter thread on the Ravelry group about acrylic yarn. I have very mixed feelings about it. As a rule, I am absolutely pro natural fibres. Wherever possible, I'm a natural fibre girl. And this is the first time since about 10 years ago that I have purchased acrylic yarn to make a project. And again, there's absolutely no judgment. It is a personal preference, and it's based entirely on environmental concern. That, you know, with resources and renewable resources, I prefer to knit with natural fibres that can be renewed rather than synthetic fibres that are using up resources and damaging the planet, possibly. So that's just putting it out there. I'm not being contentious. It's always been my feeling, okay? But in this case, I bought Stylecraft DK, and I set myself, I did bring my book. So this is my little kind of knitter's notebook that I made for myself. That was from a postcard I got in Brooklyn General Store, again when I was in the States. And this year I'm really trying to keep up details of my projects, so I'm putting pictures of my finished objects. So that's sort of my Hippo socks. No great details are on the cards, but I'm just keeping a photographic record. That said, I planned out this blanket. So I drew in this square book the size that I want it to be, and I'm colouring in the squares as I do them. So a bit like a cross stitch. Doesn't look like I've done very much. I have realised that this is actually huge, and I'll show you when I show you the progress I've made. So I can colour in here as I get through, so I can see how close I am to my goal. And I worked out that if I did 7 squares a day, this will be done in about 4 months. I didn't include joining though, that's the only thing. I didn't include joining. But the first week, last week, when I started work on it, I got 54 squares done instead of 49, so I was a little bit ahead. Again, we've got the workman here, so I can sit down here on the boat or in the lounge, because I have to keep the dogs in with me. I can't just wander around and do housework. So let me show you where I'm at. And I'm using the join as you go method, and it's upside down. That is one side, and we go along here, and we go along here, and then here. So this is the provisional width, which is a bit narrower than the plan in the book, because I've realised actually that is quite, it's going to be quite a wide blanket and it's going to be stretchy, but I really like it. I'm really enjoying working on it. They're the little grannies, and I am deliberately putting an odd black square just to break it up randomly. I'm thinking of getting a really deep sort of Merlot coloured red one as well, because I don't want it to be too masculine. That's why it was going to be black and white. It was going to be a chessboard. But once I tried working with the black yarn, it was like, no mate, that ain't going to happen. And the white is really hard. It's a really hard white. And I just thought it looked really plasticky. Whereas these softer colours, I still think that can be. And I think ultimately, if he settles down with someone, it's not too outrageously masculine. And it's got the black just for interest, and it will have some Merlot as well, and possibly a Merlot border. That's kind of what I'm thinking now. And can I also just show you this end? Can we just notice all the ends are sewn in? Look at that. So I'm working on that too. This end, this is where they start. So I'm at this week, my aim will be filling up this last sort of section here. Then I'll have 4 rows of the entire blanket width. And I have done, yesterday I sat down and did a load, so I've got those grey squares. I've got to do some cream and then join them. So yeah, I'm through the grey, my first ball of grey yarn as well, and I've got that much left from the cream one, so I'm going to have to order some more. I ordered a few different colours so I could decide which ones I wanted, so I didn't buy enough all at once. Yeah, so that is my Jonaberg, I should call it, shouldn't I? A Jonaberg blanket. Really pleased. I am actually also thinking, I have bought yarn to start one for Hannah, so they can each have one for Christmas. And I bought softer pastel colours for Hannah. But I'm going to get Joe's done first because he's had much fewer in the way of knitted stuff from me, or crocheted stuff. But I reckon I focus on these. Leaves the jumper a bit out there, doesn't it? But I could get that done. I have to concentrate a little bit. I can't totally not focus when I'm doing that because I am not as proficient at crochet as I am at knitting. But I'm getting there. I'm getting much more confident with my crocheting. So that's that. Wow. That's all I'm going to show you for today in terms of making. Well, in terms of yarn anyway. I will share with you some yarn I bought myself because I can't help it. I can't help it. On Boxing Day, Tanis Fibre Art, so Tanis Lavalley has a big Boxing Day shop update. Now, Tanis is the first person I ever bought yarn from, indie dyed yarn. And I knit one of her patterns. I knit the I Heart Aaron sweater. And it was amazing, but the sweater didn't suit me at all. It was all cable, but it had set-in shoulders and I looked a bit like an American football player. So I frogged that. But I do love her yarn, and so this Boxing Day, I really don't know what I was thinking. We'd had such a lovely Christmas Day. Boxing Day, I just felt really low. I tend to on Boxing Day. Boxing Day usually ends up a big anticlimax for me. I think because I love the anticipation of Christmas so much. I know I'm not the only one. So I actually went on to Tanis Fibre Art's website, and I wanted to get, she was doing a kit of yarn, and I can't honestly remember. And it's still in the bag. I'm leaving it in the bag. It's not her Crystal Fade. It was something else. Soft Pastels, I think. But I really just fell in love with it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to buy this. So I bought a pack of 6 skeins of worsted weight yarn, and it's her TFA Organic Merino. It's 113 grams, 238 metres, and it is flipping gorgeous. Look at that. Maybe it's because we've had so many rainbow things going on this year. I think that's pretty much. It's a little bit light, but it is just beautiful. Oh, there you are, that's better. I haven't taken this out of the bag at all yet since I got it. It was 4 to 6 weeks pre-order, and then it took about 6 weeks to get here. I did have to chase her up in the end, but she was really lovely. She gave me the tracking number, and it was almost here at that point. But look at that. So I'll show you the label closer up because I've got some more, because I thought if I'm ordering that, I really want to make one of the shawls this year is the Hipster Shawl by Joji Locatelli, which again, fringe, all about fringe at the moment. And so I thought I would buy some indie dyed worsted weight yarn from Tanis at the same time. So I bought this. I have got a thought about what I'm going to make that into, but I'm not going to share that with you just yet. It was going to be a blanket, but I think it's going to be a garment now. But I also bought this puff colourway. And there you can see our lovely labels. She's very much into her rainbows. So this is, again, this is worsted weight. I bought 3 skeins of these, but the middle skein is really different. So those two are pretty similar. And obviously this isn't a complaint. You expect this with hand-dyed yarn, don't you? Look at this one, how different that is. It's much pinker, much pink. Oh, you can see it there, look. So I'm going to have to place that carefully in the shawl. It's almost going to look like a stripe, I think, to be honest, if I alternate skeins. It really is very different. I mean, it would have been nice not to have one quite so different. But that said, it's always a gamble, isn't it, with indie dyed yarn, with hand dyed yarn. And it may be, it's the way it's skeined, of course. If I take, once I pull the skein out, it may be that they're all really similar. But, and it's going to be a shawl. Even if I save this one for the fringe, you know, it's because the fringe will take quite a lot. So that was my very exciting yarn purchase from Tanis Fibre Arts. She's on Etsy, but she has a website, and the shop, there's a shop on the website. She has a system, she has colours dyed to order constantly, but then she does sort of one of a kind, or they do one of a kind updates and things, because her and her husband Chris both dye the yarn. So that was that. How are we doing? Right. Just a little, I thought I might do a little did you know section as well. We're doing all right for time. And come up with various factoids. I love factoids. Do you like factoids? I love knowing stuff. And I've got a few ideas for things I was going to share with you. And this week it happened to be, and it relates to this actually, it relates to worsted weight yarn. Now I don't know whether you will know the difference between worsted weight yarn and worsted spun yarn. I used to get really confused. Before I learned how to spin, when people talked about worsted yarn, I didn't know whether they meant, well, I didn't know what they meant for a start. I didn't know what worsted yarn was. And then I thought, oh, it's just the weight of the yarn. It's slightly thicker than DK, slightly lighter than Aran weight. But worsted weight yarn, and if I'm teaching my grandmother to suck eggs, forgive me. So just go with me here, because I think it is confusing for people. Worsted weight yarn is the thickness. It's the thickness of the strands of fibre. And it can be a 2-ply, it can be a singles, it can be a 3-ply, it can be a 4-ply, it can be an 8-ply. So worsted weight yarn is the thickness, and that's down to gauge and yards per inch. Generally it's yards per inch, or give you, is it yards per inch? Stitches per inch. It's about the thickness, it's about that. Anyway, worsted spun yarn is something entirely different, because you can have a fingering weight worsted spun yarn. You can have a chunky weight worsted spun yarn. So a worsted spun yarn is where, when it's spun, all the fibres from the animal, whichever animal it is, lay parallel to each other. They lay smooth and parallel, and then it's spun. So they're all caught up. It's a really lovely smooth sheen. It gives you quite a strong yarn. It gives you a yarn that will give you a nice drape, because the air is kind of squished out of it. If you think your hair, when you straighten it, you're pulling everything flat in the same direction. Okay? If you've got short hair, you tend to scrunch it up, don't you, quite often? And it's a bit more sticky outy. Technical term there. in spinning terms, that would give you a woolen spun yarn. So a woolen spun yarn is when, before you spin it, all the fibres are shorter as a rule and they're pointing in different directions. So that you haven't got that long, smooth direction that gives you that kind of more drapey, fluid yarn. You've got a much more aerated yarn because the fibres aren't flat, there's air between them, which can make it warmer. It tends to make it more lightweight because there's air in it, but it isn't generally as strong as worsted spun yarn. So you'll find yarns like Shetland, a lot of the Scandinavian yarns, Brooklyn tweed, I believe, is woolen spun. So what they've done is they've taken these fibres and they're very, very lightweight, but they're very, very warm. But they can break easily. Anyone who's worked with Brooklyn tweed yarn knows that it can snap at the drop of a hat because you haven't got the long, look, I'm trying to do it, you haven't got the long fibres kind of wrapping around each other. You've got lots of short fibres which can pull apart easily. That said, that sort of yarn lends itself beautifully to colour work. So with colour work, what you want, because you're using lots of different strands and you've got your floats at the back and so on, you want yarns that will grip each other so that it'll fill out the gaps between the colour work on the front side of your garment or whatever you're knitting. Worsted spun yarn, you can still use it for colour work, but it doesn't grip, it doesn't bloom as much as woolen spun yarn, which is why, again, you know, the fairer traditions are with the woolen spun yarns, so Shetland, Icelandic, Scandinavian type yarns, which are the sheep in the northern hemisphere that grow the shorter fibres. So that's your difference for you. So this pure wash worsted weight yarn is also worsted spun. It's a smooth, you'll get a drape on that. It's a lovely smooth, strong yarn. I should have brought over, I should have pulled, I haven't got a woolen spun yarn, but if you imagine, if you imagine Shetland wool, some people don't like it because they think it's prickly or scratchy. That's because the fibres aren't laying all smooth adjacent to your skin, they're kind of all mishmashed up. So there you go, that's my little factoid for you about the different ways of spinning yarn, which does impact us as knitters. Even if we don't spin, when you're buying yarn, it's good to know because it helps you make a decision about if you want something that's got drape and fluid, you would use maybe a worsted spun yarn. If you want something that's you really want to full and bloom and be really warm and airy, you would go for a woolen spun yarn. So there you go. That's because I probably won't be able to put a little thing saying segment. Right, my last segment is going to be a pick and mix. So each week or each 2 weeks when I record, I'm going to pick something that isn't necessarily related to knitting, but it could be crafting of some sort. It might be weaving, it might be sewing, it might be hand stitching, it might be quilting, it might be journaling, it might be talking about books. And I thought we'll call it pick and mix because, you know, that's a good name, isn't it? So this week I'm just going to share with you something that I made Christmas and, well, in January. I finished it in January. As you will remember, or you may remember from last year, I got really into my hand sewing. I was very much enjoying my English paper piecing, as well as my machine quilting and patchwork. For Christmas, my lovely mum and dad, at the instigation of my daughter, must give her credit, gave me a kit from Sarah Edgar, who is Pretty Fabrics and Trims on the internet. Totally blanked out then. I think she's Pretty Fabrics and Trims, not Pretty Little Fabrics. No, Pretty Fabrics and Trims. And on Instagram, she's Sarah Edgar something. I don't have my phone with you, so I can't. And I don't have the details because I have the finished item here. And basically, It was a kit for what's called a HUSWIF, which I had to look up, which is almost like basically a sewing organiser. A little, sorry, I'm just realising I need to empty out something to show you. So, so it's a little organiser with pockets and things in which you can keep your needles and threads and patterns and so on. It included embroidery on the front, which I had never done. I had never done embroidery before. I've done cross stitch, but I really wanted to do embroidery. And the kit came with everything in it and really good instructions on how to put everything together. In fact, let me just double check. I haven't got her. I've organised, that's the trouble. When you organise, you drop, don't you? Yeah, no, I don't have it here, sorry. I'll link it down below anyway. So I did the embroidery and I made the HUSWIF, the needle organiser. And this is it. This is the front. Oh, I did that. Oh, I did that embroidery. I have never done embroidery before, so I had to look up all the stitches. And I'm so pleased with it. I'm so excited. So not only that, you then use that as the front cover for this. So if I turn it around, so you've got this lovely binding. The inside and the back is quilted. That's just machine quilted. There's a little bow there. So if I now open this, you'll see the first side is a bit of EPP. And that is actually a pocket, like that. If I then open the middle, that's the middle. This flap comes up and you've got those hooks for threads and this lovely lining here. And then this bottom bit is felt, so that's to keep needles and pins. And then you've got another little flap under there, you can tuck things away. And then finally the third side, oh, there's the builders coming down again, end is this, and let me see, do it that way. And it's got a little thing here to tie on your scissors. You've got two small pockets here, and look, all these little lace this and the button. This lace came, this was mine because I didn't cut the lace properly that Sarah sent with the kit, so I had to find some different, so fortunately I found that. So if we then open it out, that is the inside of the kit. It's so beautifully designed. I absolutely love this. And the back you can see is all quilted, and then the embroidery on the front. And then there's the tiniest little bit of hand quilting next to the lace on this side. There. So I made that. It's so beautiful, and the kit price was really reasonable. I think it was about £35. But it's given me so much pleasure to make, and it's really useful. And I'm currently keeping another embroidery project in that, but I'm not going to show you that until maybe next week, because I've got to keep some stuff, haven't I? But I will give you a hint. It is Nikki Franklin, Stitchery Lane. But I'm keeping that all together in my basket with my whips, and you can see it's bulging now, but that's fine. I just don't tie it so tight. So thrilled with that. I may well make another one day for someone else who doesn't sew. No, because if they don't sew, they're not going to want a sewing. Yeah, that doesn't make sense, does it? Anyway, that, my friends, is it. Believe it or not, for all my actual crafting content. I did say I was kind of going to keep you up to date with stuff, but I'm not going to go on too long. Basically, had a little sabbatical, got out of the habit of podcasting, was generally overthinking life way too much, as you do. And yeah, just this last few days, and it's so lovely, people have reached out and said, you know, you're going to podcast again, we really miss you. And that's nice. I mean, it's nice, what can you say? It's lovely. Everybody wants to know they've been missed, don't they? So I thought, do you know what, just put on your big girl pants and do it. And I've really enjoyed it. It's been fine, the lighting is fine. The dogs. Honey is upside down with her legs in the air on the chair. Sparko. Henry is now just looked up. He's on the bed down there. They've been good. The builders haven't made too much noise. I've just about run out of tea, which is good. Oh, wow. And all is well with the world. So there's not really any point in going into details, is there? Had a few hiccups for Gary, but at the moment he's doing really well. The treatment is going well. So it may be in the future. Obviously that has to be my first priority. And if things go a bit pear-shaped with him, I simply don't have the capacity to organise this and to chat and to be cheap and cheerful, basically. But fingers crossed and prayers. It's all going pretty well. He's going to be working from home until at least the 31st of March. So far, that's the, no, it's more than the 31st of March. I think it's the end of April. I can't remember, because he's one of the clinically extremely vulnerable category, but he has had his vaccination, so that's good, and he hasn't grown a second head. He hasn't grown a third one either. So that's all good. What else? And yeah, I'm loving the crafting now. I have found if I keep the boat tidy, it does help. I have got a couple of big projects coming up. There is a blanket imminently going to be going on the loom. I have another blanket that I made, which I don't think I've shared with you, which I can show you next time. And I've got sewing projects. You can hear all that, can't you? That might be telling me it's time to go. But what else? Was there anything else? I've taken a little bit of footage of Gilbert this morning, so I'm going to pop that on the end. It's very difficult because he's so fast when he gets the zoomies, as we call it. I'll put that up there. I'm really missing social contact these days. Really missing knitting and talking about crafting and just hanging out with creative friends. I think we're all getting to that point, aren't we? I think we're all finding it a bit hard. So I thought, actually, no, let's just go on there. Let's share my projects with you all, have a chat. Oh, and finally, yes, last time I did say I wanted to get to 21 subscribers, and we did, and we've beaten that. I think we're at about 38 now, which is really cool. So I am going to do a giveaway. So I'm going to put together 2 packages. I was going to yawn then, that's a bit rude, wasn't it? Boring myself. I'm going to put together 2 packages of yarn and bits and bobs. Nothing, you know, major when I say packages, but I do have some yarn and bits and bobs in my podcasting box that I would like to give away as a thank you. So if you would like to leave a comment below, anybody who leaves a comment below, unless you state otherwise, will be entered for the giveaway, the 2021 followers celebration giveaway. I will leave that open for, should we leave it open for 2 weeks? I have noticed, I'm going to write that down because I'll forget. I have noticed that, you know, quite often, 10 days to 2 weeks, I'm still getting comments and people are still watching. So we'll give it 2 weeks. I will put together the packages and I will show you next week what I put together for the prizes. But in the meantime, if you would like to comment below, and trust me that it'll be a lovely prize, I will do a draw and I will give away 2 packages as a thank you for those who watch. I think that is about it now. It's actually not too bad of a day. Hannah and I are going to be taking the dogs out for a walk after lunch, and then I don't know. I would really like to sit down and work on my Rainbow Connection socks. But I also need to do my blanket squares. And I need to put the heel in my Hippo for Home Sweet Home socks. So many things to do. It's quite, you see, it's an upside, a good side, having the workmen in upstairs, is that I'm very limited to what I can do. Gary's working in the dining room, so I can't really do anything too much noisy wise. And I did give the kitchen a really good clean on Monday. So, you know, I feel I'm justified here. As long as the dogs get fed and walked. Oh, I've been doing gardening. I did some gardening last week. That's what's really changed it for me. Oh, it's so glorious. I've cleared the raised beds. When I'm planting, I will do a little a film for you. I'm going to put loads of dahlia bulbs in the raised beds, and I've also ordered some anemone seeds and some cornflower seeds, and I'm going to plant those up because I want to make my patio look lovely for the spring. I always get like that this time of year. You'll remember, if you watch my sustainable-ish Lent vlogs this time last year, you'll see that I was all about growing... Oh, goodness me, it's definitely time to go, isn't it? I was all about planting seeds for salads and lettuces and beans and things. I'm rubbish at that. I'm good at planting stuff, but I forget to look after things. So I'm going for flowers this year. So there you go. We'll see how we go. And I've got some sunflowers I need to plant as well. So anyway, we are nearly through February. We are nearly through the coldest, darkest months of winter. The evenings are getting lighter, certainly in the Northern Hemisphere. So I hope you are all beginning to feel a little more cheerful. The numbers are coming down with the COVID infections. The days are getting brighter. And there's a lot to be hopeful and thankful for. So I hope that this has been an hour and nearly an hour and a half of something a little bit cheerful, a little bit chipper, a little bit positive. Let's get those needles out. Let's get some new projects on the needles and get excited about things. I think that's it, isn't it? It's having the excitement. The casting on is great. You get excited. The casting off is great. But that middle bit is when you need your friends around and you need to chat about stuff and just, oh, I'm finding this sleeve a drag, or I'm finding this a drag, and getting that motivation and enthusiasm back, isn't it? So I'm going to try and you know, zap out all this kind of vibes and enthusiasm. And I'm going to go and take my tablets. Anyway, I really am going to go now. As I say, there'll be a little bit of Gilbert footage, and if they don't move before I get the chance, I'll give you a little bit of dog footage from in here so you can see what they were looking like. They are at the bow of the boat, which is the front. I will give you a clip of those. We are all sending our love to you. So I will hopefully see you next week. In the meantime, have a lovely weekend, a lovely rest of the week. And remember, keep cheerful. Bye. What you doing, hen? Hen? What you doing? Come see. Come on.